Hello. Hello. And welcome back to part 2 of the writing logs. This is writing log number 2. While I was editing through my first video, I decided that I have actually a lot that I want to say about my writing process, and I do want to actually start making more like video writing logs like this to kind of track my progress. And I decided that instead of shoving all of this onto my main channel, I would make a separate channel. So this is my second channel. If you're interested, the links to my main channel, that'd be in the description. And in this video, I want to talk about the different versions of my story so far. First, before we get into it, if you haven't watched writing log number 1, then I do need to briefly explain some things. I am writing a story, a novel if you will. However, I'm not doing it in like a traditional sense because the prospect of writing a novel, that's kind of daunting, that's kind of a lot. So instead of writing a novel, I'm writing a fan fiction that I can very easily change the names of in the end, and then I will have a novel. So yeah, this is kind of sort of technically a fan fiction, only because I'm using character names from Arrow, the CW show that I'm kind of obsessed with. If you want to know about that, that's on my main channel. This is the main channel. Every single thing that happens in this story, it's straight out of my brain. I'm not taking any of these events from the actual show. So there is that. That is the prequel. That's what you need to know. The main premise of my story, the main character, she's a super spy, and she is sent to spy on Malcolm Merlyn, billionaire CEO, because he is funding some kind of secret project, and her spy people, they want to know about it. And so they sent her, okay? Because she's fucking awesome, that's why they sent her. Oh, I put too much fucking spice powder on this. To get some more precursors out of the way, I'm not a published author. I'm working towards that. Hopefully that will change in the future, you know? Hopefully. My goal is to be a published author, but I'm not right now. You're not getting like the inside of a mastermind's brain right now, even though I would love to consider myself a mastermind. I'm not. This fanfic would serve as a prequel to Arrow and kind of show the motivations that would lead up to Malcolm Merlyn eventually doing the undertaking. So my initial plan was, because this is a spy story, because she is doing spy things, I wanted to throw in a lot of red herrings, have a lot of other weird shit going on that, you know, she'd have to sift through and be like, is this relevant to my mission, or is this just some other bullshit, you know? Something that I came up with pretty immediately was the concept of like listening devices. Malcolm Merlyn in the show, very untrustworthy guy. He likes to listen in on people. He knows what everyone's doing. He's got spy cameras. He's sharing spy cameras with Slade Wilson. We all know this. Okay, if you watched my videos, you wouldn't know this. Now, obviously in the show, Malcolm Merlyn doesn't go fully fucking psycho until after he goes to the League of Assassins. But, you know, that doesn't just, a man doesn't change that much overnight, right? So, like, he's got to be a little bit freaky to begin with, and so I wanted to show that through the use of these listening devices, and he puts these listening devices all over the office. He's constantly, like, trying to sneak them into the main character's bag so that she'll take them with her so that he can, like, hear what she's talking about. My original cast of characters that I created was very convoluted. Okay, and this is where the problems started to arise. Every time I created a new character, it created new problems. So there was originally a secretary, Denise, some other woman named Liz, the CFO of the company, Vincent, and the COO of the company, Ben. Those were my main four dudes that I created for this story. Not including my my main character, obviously, so that'd be 5. That's 5 OCs to 1 Malcolm Merlyn. You're seeing how this is not a fanfiction, right? You're getting it? You're getting it? You're getting it from the copious amounts of OCs? Alright, cool. And originally, I wanted there to be some kind of weird money laundering subplot happening. I did take that out after maybe the first draft, you know? Speaking of which, I have rewritten the story so many times, and yet I want to keep calling this my first draft, because to me, a first draft cannot turn into a second draft until you have completed the first draft, right? And I've never completed a first draft. So, therefore, this is still the first draft, but it's maybe the 3rd time I've attempted writing a first draft. So, you could say that it's my third draft, but I'm not gonna say that because I do feel like it can't turn into a next version of the draft until I've finished it fully. So, instead of calling it first draft, second draft, whatever, I'm gonna call this whole thing as my first draft. But it's like a different version, okay? The version 1.0 first draft, the version 2.0 first draft, etc. You get what I mean? And originally, I had wanted there to be 5 big scenes, okay? 5 big scenes. The first big scene is a phone call with one of Malcolm's associates that gives away a little bit more details, a little bit more mystery about whatever this secret project is. The second big scene is a house party at Malcolm's mansion, okay? Because you can't write a story without a house party at a mansion, okay? This is kind of how it goes. And this would be the scene where our main character gets introduced to his wife for the first time. Then the third big scene would be the business trip. And now this includes a bunch of other big scenes within it, but on the business trip, that would be, of course, the moment where Jessica successfully seduces Malcolm Merlyn on the business trip, and where she gets more information about his secret project. However, she's still not gonna know the full details about it, because there's still more shit to get to after this. The fourth big scene would be after they all come back from this business trip. Jessica starts to get paranoid. She thinks there's people following her, and she is right to be paranoid because there is someone following her. And then she does have to have, like, an altercation with a private investigator, and I wasn't really sure if I wanted to have her, like, try to blackmail him or have her just straight up kill him or some shit, so we're gonna see how that goes, I guess. And then the fifth big scene, is gonna be her getting confronted by Malcolm about being a spy, and then pushed off a waterfall. Because if you watched my first video, then you know that the prologue of the entire story is her falling to her death off a waterfall. So that's it all circles back. It's very neat, very clean, very demure. Her falling off the waterfall, she's not dead because she's the main character of a fucking she's the main character of a novel. Her falling off this waterfall will transition us into Act 2 of the story, called After the Fall. Get it? Because Act 2 will take place at the League of Assassins, and she will, like, go through her journey. She'll meet a bunch of new OCs that I create at the League of Assassins, and then she'll become an assassin. And then Part 3, Act 3 of the story, will be when Malcolm Merlyn arrives at the League of Assassins, and then we'll have to deal with that. We'll work through that. Some shenanigans happen. I'm not going to give anything else away after that, because I do have some really big plans for the League of Assassins, and I would like to save a little bit of mystique, a little bit of mystery, keep you hanging a little bit. Now let's get into it. Edit number 1. This is going to be the first draft version 1.0. I was writing it on Scrivener on my phone. I mentioned Scrivener in my writing log number 1. Okay, I don't have beef with Scrivener per se. I tried to use it. It was working for a while, but I found myself, like, spending too much time making random miscellaneous folders and feeling like I needed to fill out all of the folders before writing my story. I spent too much time focused on, like, the tiny little details of adding things to, like, the world building folders that Scrivener, like, all your fucking folders. And I got really caught up in that, and it detracted from my actual writing. So I stopped using Scrivener, and then I eventually transitioned to Google Docs. 1.0 first draft was on Scrivener, and I would primarily write at night before I went to bed, and the original plot was convoluted as hell. It included the main character having a really crazy parents backstory, like dead parents, but it was weird, and then she also had a son for some reason. I don't know why I threw that in there. She didn't need that. And also, she instantly discovered Malcolm Merlyn's secret spy pens immediately. And I did that to highlight the fact that she's so good at what she does. She's such a good spy that she immediately clocks these spy pens. Wow, she's so good at what she does, guys. She's a professional, guys. She's so good at her job of spying. I was writing the story this way until I got to the party scene. The first big scene. No, the second big scene. That's the second big scene. I got to the party scene, and I realized that It was just, there was too much going on, but also none of the things that were going on were actually interesting. And so I reworked it to create a little bit more drama in the form of Rebecca Merlin, Malcolm's wife, if you didn't know. So I'm still writing edit 1.1 on Scrivener on my phone. And I changed a lot of things. In fact, I deleted one of the main 4 side characters I created. Say goodbye to Liz, okay? We don't need you anymore. I changed Jessica's backstory so that after her parents died as a kid, she was adopted by Rebecca's family. And then they had a big falling out, ambiguous falling out. And she moved to China and Rebecca moved to New York, and they never talked ever again until this moment where they meet at the party. And she realizes that she is tasked to seduce her old best friend's husband. And that's kind of a lot. That's kind of dramatic. And that's still in the story. That is still how it is, and it's gonna stay like that. I also deleted the money laundering subplot because it was useless. Edit 1.3, I went back and I reworked the Jessica Rebecca backstory a little bit more, fleshed it out. I had that playing in my head like a movie for a couple of weeks. I was like, oh my god, high school drama. Like, I had everything is in there. I have their whole backstory in my brain. I think I actually plotted it out somewhere. Like, I was really doing a lot. So now I know everything there is to know about Jessica and Rebecca as teenagers. And then I also overhauled Jessica's parents' tragic backstory, and the way that I did it then is the way that it is now, so I don't really want to like give away what that is, but I did rework the tragic backstory. And I also expanded on Rebecca's family because there's not much that we know about Rebecca in the show except that she died. Tragic. I have the creative liberty to make Rebecca Merlin into whoever I want, so I gave her a family. I gave her a mother, a father, and a brother. And Jessica, an adoptive sister, okay? There was a whole lot. It was a whole lot, and I get to do whatever I want. And I also added a brand new character in the form of Jessica's old high school boyfriend, who is now, of course, also back in her life, because that's just how it works. Everyone from your past comes back to you in a novel. Can't just have a new guy. It's gotta be a guy from your past, right? Then, of course, I had to flesh him out, so that's gonna be edit 1.3.1. I made him make a little bit more sense, gave them a backstory, gave him a cover. And then edit 1.3.2, I call this the Make It Gay edit. And I'm gonna let your mind wander on that one. And we're not gonna talk about it. And I wrote like this. I was working with all of these new things. I got all the way up to the business trip part when I realized that I needed to make a huge change. And I realized that there was still one thing that I had not fucking fleshed out at all. What is Malcolm Merlin's secret project? So I had to actually figure that out. I had to actually sit down and come up with a secret project. And it started off fucking weird as shit, but what I have now, I think is actually, like, really good, and I'm honestly impressed that I came up with it. Actually, Hannah helped me, my friend who's helping me with this. She actually gave me, like, the key idea that put this all together, and thank you. I thank her every day for that. I did a couple Google searches because I wanted the project to like have some kind of Greek mythology name associated with it. So I found a Greek myth. I started using that as the project name. And then my friend helped me figure out like the jellyfish thing. We're gonna leave it ambiguous. Actually, they come in clutch because they help me tie everything back around to, the prologue where she gets pushed off a waterfall. How the fuck is Malcolm Merlin supposed to get to a waterfall when there's jellyfish in the waterfall? And he needs the jellyfish. I gave Malcolm more of a motivation, like, why does he want to do this? I took kind of inspiration from the show. I also added a mysterious unlabeled cream. And we're gonna leave that there. I'm not gonna go into details. And I also made it so there's a secret lab associated with the secret project, and Jessica gets to go to the lab and tour the lab and see what's going on in there. So lots of good things in this edit. And I got all the way up to the spicy scene on the business trip before I realized that shit wasn't working out. It was post-spice clarity. Post-spice clarity, I was like, I need a change. Something is not working. And so version 2.0 of my first draft was born. I transferred all of my shit from Scrivener onto Google Docs. Now I'm able to write on my laptop and on my phone. Hey, you can just download Scrivener on your laptop. You know, that's an option. Nope, actually it's not, because my phone is an iPhone, and my laptop, that's not an iLaptop, okay? It's not compatible, so I would have had to repurchase Scrivener, and I didn't even like it that much to begin with, so I'm not about to shell out the money to buy Scrivener twice. So now I started edit 2.1, where I allowed Hannah to access the document, and I added the patch notes in the document so that this would be easier for her to know the changes that I was making in the story, because I was constantly going back and changing little things, little tiny change here, change the name, delete a character, all this bullshit, and I didn't want her to have to go back and reread the entire thing just to find tiny little things that I added. So I added the patch notes, and in the patch notes I would just write all the changes that I made every day. And then I continued writing, and I wrote all the way up to right after they got to the business trip. And we introduced Ben Edmonds, because Ben Edmonds this whole time, he was not there. He was just kind of like, you know, we mentioned him once, and he was never seen, and now he's being seen. And this next edit, this is edit 3.0, the high stakes / heist edit. Currently working on this. It's not fully implemented yet. So this time I decided that I wanted to add some stakes. I realized that something my story was missing was actual fucking stakes. So I went back. I changed it so that Girly Pop Professional Spy did not discover the listening devices, and in fact, she will discover them at the most inopportune time ever, and it will lead to the need for a heist. And I also completely renovated the Merlin Global building, okay? I tore it down and I rebuilt it inside my head. It's a whole new building now, bitch, okay? Your nasty-ass glass Merlin Global building, it's different. It's different now. It's still fucking glass. It's still all glass because I want to be true to the source material, but it's cooler. I feel like it's cooler in my head now. So that's where I'm at with my story. Those are the versions. That's the journey that we've been on. That's really all I wanted to say. I would totally be willing to go back into fucking Scrivener and like read to you some of my older chapters, because it's so different. I'm not even worried. Like, I don't care. It's a completely different story. Like, I'm totally willing to read that shit to you if you want, like, a feel for my writing. I like to think I'm a good writer, but also I'm very hard on myself, too. So, like, I tout myself as this good writer in my head, and then I'll go back and I'll reread the things I read, and I'm like, that actually sucks. But does it actually suck? Or does it suck because I'm holding myself to an impossibly high standard for no reason, and I just can't I don't know. I don't know who's to say. Oh, 2 spice. 2 spice on that one. I kind of just, like, I have a lot I want to say, but also, it's, like, I don't know how much I can say, because if this ever does become a published work, like, that's still my goal, right? So I don't want to give my story away. I don't want to tell you too many details, but also, like, I want to tell you, I want to yap about this. I want to talk to you about it. You know, I want to talk to the world, because I can talk to Hannah. Hannah's great to talk to. Love her. But also, I want to talk to everyone. I want to tell you. I want to tell you my story. I don't like that I have to kind of hide it. I wish I could post it somewhere and just show it to you. I mean, and that's kind of the whole point, right? Like, I'm making it a fan fiction. I originally did intend to post it on AO3, but I haven't gotten around to doing that. I don't know if I will. I'm viewing this as it's going to be an original story one day. 99% of the things that are happening in it are my original ideas, but also it's still technically a fan fiction. So, like, I can share it. I can tell you everything that I'm doing in here. I mean, I'm not giving away some kind of secret fucking shit, right? But also, eventually I am going to just change the names and make it a full story, so it's like, I don't know how much of this I want to share. I don't think anyone's gonna watch these videos, to be honest, so, like, I'm not gonna, like, ask you any questions, because I truly don't believe that there's a single person watching this. Bye. Oh, I didn't do a thumbnail. Toodles.